Hi, everyone. Welcome to our monthly live stream. We are welcoming our special guest, Cambridge Audio, this month. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Looks like we have folks tuning in from all over the country, even all over the world. So it's great to see. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Thanks again for taking up a little bit of your Thursday afternoon. And we are excited to welcome Tony from Cambridge and welcoming back Leon Shaw from Audio Advice. Here's what you can expect for the next hour. We are going to announce the winner of our monthly giveaway. This month we are giving away the Cambridge CXNv2 network, so an $1,100 value, something that we're incredibly excited about. We are also, thanks to Cambridge, also going to be giving away the Cambridge Minx XL bookshelf speakers. So if you're at home, working from home, and you want to improve the quality of sound that you're getting from your computer, your desktop setup, that's going to be a great giveaway as well. So we're going to be giving those away based on whoever asks the best question between now and 6 o'clock here before we wrap up. So if you have a question for Cambridge, go ahead and submit it. We can see all of those questions coming in through both YouTube and Facebook from Audio Advice and also from the Cambridge side. So go ahead and start firing away those questions. We'll get to those shortly. Again, let us know where you're tuning in from. It's great to see folks from all over the country. We would like to welcome Tony from Cambridge, coming up from the UK, just outside of London. So it's a little bit later in the evening for Tony. So Tony, thanks for joining us this afternoon, or this evening in your case.
Absolute pleasure, Jonathan. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited. And again, welcome back, Leon Shaw, founder of Audio Advice. So Leon, great to have you again as well.
Yeah, it's good to be here. And look at all the different places. Wow, they're just flying in.
Yeah, it's great to see folks from all over the country and all over the world, which is awesome. So we'll give you guys a shout as we see you guys coming in from Florida, Virginia, San Francisco, Chicago, Winter Park, Florida, all over the place. So this is great. Thanks again, guys. Tony, welcome again. First off, just to sort of make things fun, tell us what was was kind of the first question we usually ask our guests. What was the first concert that you can remember going to?
So this is awful, and it wasn't my decision. But for my mother's birthday, she took the entire family to see Chris de Burgh at Wembley Arena, and that was horrific.
At the old Wembley.
Yeah, so not something that I wanted to repeat. If it's the first one I went to of my own accord, it's probably I live in Reading. It's about 40 miles outside London, and just on my doorstep we've got the Reading Festival, and it's been a sort of famous rock festival since the 1970s. So sometime around 1990, I think, 1989 or 1990, I went to that, and we had such acts like the Pixies, and I've seen loads of people there, but yeah, Pixies sticks in the mind. Nirvana, Rage Against the Machine, all of that stuff, and to have it and then to be able to go home and get a shower very, very quickly, it's a great feeling.
I can imagine. Looks like Andrew gave a shout out to Ivan in our Raleigh store. Thanks a lot. We appreciate that. Ivan's been a lifelong Audio Advice employee, so he's appreciate the shout out. And again, seeing folks coming from all over. Tony, what was the first vinyl record that you purchased, if you can remember?
I think going back, it was probably something like an album by the Communards. Are you aware of the Communards?
I am not. Leon?
No, so I'm not. No.
They were founded from the ashes of a band called Bronski Beat, and they were fantastic. They used to kind of redo old soul songs with a piano and a dance beat, and they were great. And then I may have also bought a Bon Jovi album at some point, but that was a long time ago. My taste has moved on.
And then lastly, I guess Leon, one for you. What was the first vinyl record you remember purchasing?
I believe it was "Love Me Do" 45 from the Beatles.
Okay, so a classic one out. Absolutely.
Yes, Tony, I'm an old fart.
No, that's much cooler than mine.
Yeah. The first vinyl record I bought, obviously I got into vinyl much later on, but went back and found the Sgt. Pepper's album, so another Beatles album, and then the Fugees. So that was another. Those are the first two records I remember purchasing when I got my first turntable. So, well, Tony, obviously we're talking all things Cambridge Audio. So, what can you tell us for those who are joining us who maybe aren't as familiar with Cambridge? Just sort of give us a quick overview of Cambridge Audio and sort of what goes into your thought process as you guys develop a lot of the products that we're familiar with?
Yeah, so Cambridge Audio was founded in 1968. So this is our 52nd year or 52nd go around the sun. We are based in London. Cambridge is a little bit further north than London, although the business was started there. We're currently based in London. We've been there for around 25 years. We have a fairly small company. We have an engineering team in the UK, anywhere between sort of 9 and 15 engineers working on the products. And we specialize in what we call Great British Sound. Great British Sound, to put it simply, is we don't add any of our own flavor to what was laid down in the studio. Every time you pass a piece of music through an amplifier, through a streamer, you have an opportunity to mess with it. And our fairly simple goal is to not mess with it. We like to deliver a fairly sort of, a fairly neutral sound, but a sound that's still going to be exciting and good to listen to.
Leon, so you got your friend, but we're joining you as well.
We'll probably stay there for a little while.
No worries. Leon, when you first heard Cambridge, what stood out to you in that first experience?
Yeah, I remember it really well. It wasn't that long ago because we got in I think the CXA60 iterated amplifier. Mm-hmm. And it just, the music started and it just felt like this just sounds so right. Yeah, it just grabbed me emotionally. And I felt like tapping my toes and just, I lost track of the equipment, just got into the music. Tony, you're right. It doesn't alter the music. You just hear all the passion the performers put into it when playing through Cambridge. And that's consistent throughout every piece I've ever tested. Even I listened to that AXR35, the small integrated amp, a couple of months ago. And same characteristics, just this pure, wonderful, involving sound.
Yeah, absolutely. Something we consistently hear for sure. When your engineers are developing new products, what are the most important, characteristics or things that they're thinking about as they develop new products?
It's interesting. We spend an awful lot of time listening and listening to customer feedback, but also, just listening to music. And we don't always test with we don't tend to test with the classics. We test with real life music that we love. Music that we're ultimately familiar with. So quite a lot of the time when we're developing products, it's not about which DAC is getting the best, which DAC chip is getting the best reviews right now. It's not about what's the most expensive. It's not about building to a budget. It's about building what sounds right. And so every component is tested, listened to, tested again. And sometimes it's not the expensive components that make it in, but it's the components that sound right. And we're very lucky. We have some really talented electronics engineers who also have brilliant ears. They just love music. I remember I was on a day out with one of them last year at some point when we could still do that sort of thing. And he says to me, I said to him, "Well, it beats staying in the office and making amplifiers." And he just turned around and he said, "I really like making amplifiers." And that kind of sums it up, really. He's, they are very passionate about what they do and incredibly talented people, and more talent in their little finger than I'll have in my entire lifetime. They are absolute rock stars.
Great. I got a comment here from Holly. She says she's got a Cambridge Audio setup. She's got a 651A and a 752 BD with the S30 speaker. So she's got a pretty nice little system. Leon, we hear over and over, from our team at Audio Advice, a number of our sales team are big believers in Cambridge. Maybe you can share, some of the setups that a few of the folks have. The Edge setup, I think,
there's a few guys with Edge. The Azure series has been very popular amongst the sales staff. It actually is, of all the gear we have, it has the highest ownership of anything at Audio Advice. It's pretty impressive. Right. Almost everyone has some sort of Cambridge in their system, which says a whole lot about it. It just sounds so musical.
Yeah, that's definitely a big sort of tip of the hat, if you will.
And what's funny, Jonathan, is I've noticed that a lot of times they won't have much of a system. They have, they're starting out. They've just come on board with audio device. They've got some modest speakers. Maybe you're thinking about getting their first turntable, but they get that Cambridge amplifier or receiver or whatever first, and they're like, "Wow, I need new. Leon, what speaker should I get now?" Yeah, it's like it starts this fun ball rolling of getting into the hobby and enjoying, better sound.
I mean, a big part of our philosophy, Leon, is I think that we want to democratize good quality audio, and it shouldn't be about how much you got in your wallet. It doesn't matter how much you got in your wallet. You deserve to hear your music at the best quality available. And whether you're just starting out in your journey and you're looking at something like AX series and it's your first venture into hi-fi separates, or whether you're a little more seasoned and you're looking at CX system, or whether it's it's time to get your forever system and you're looking at something like Edge, we want you to have the very best experience, the very best bang for your buck. And I like to think that we've got something at every level, for every wallet and every ear. That's really where I think our main strength lies, actually.
Yeah. It is, because even the AX gear has that same quality that it doesn't change the music. Yeah, as you move up, you hear more little details and maybe greater dynamics, better bass and stuff, all the things you'd expect, but you still can have a ton of fun listening to your entry level gear. It's not like other companies where it's just harsh or bright or too shrill. It's very, very musical, which I think is great.
Yeah, Tony, maybe you can expand on that a little bit. What's been great to see, especially with some of the refreshes of the newer lineups, is that you have a lot of both the design aesthetic and some of the performance parts that you can see are influenced throughout the entire line, as Leon sort of alluded to. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about some of the thought process that goes into that.
Yeah, so we've got a brilliant product designer, a guy called Jed Martin, who is a very mild-mannered, unassuming man, but that's all part of the charm, I think. He designed some really, really good-looking gear, and I mean, Alva TT, the Bluetooth turntable we do, for instance, is being sold in the Museum of Modern Art in New York. It's on their website there. So they don't just take stuff that just sounds good, or it's got a real design aesthetic to it. So yeah, Jed works very, very hard in terms of the overall look and feel of the product. So it's got this kind of family resemblance to it. Tell that it's a Cambridge product. It's got very similar buttons. It's everything that we produce at the moment in terms of hi-fi, with the exception of 851 series, we do in a lunar grey color, which we think has got a certain timeless look to it. It's going to look good no matter what decade it ends up being in. And it's got this, like you say, it's got this aesthetic. The CX gear that I've got behind me has got this kind of floating look to it, so that it just sits very nicely. It's all very considered and quite sort of elegant. But yeah, I mean, the greatest respect for the work that Jed carries out. He knows how to make hi-fi look beautiful.
Absolutely, I can share from my experience. I go to quite a bit of the audio shows, Rocky Mountain, Exponent, etc., and you can instantly spot Cambridge setup, right? Just because of the way that it looks, the aesthetic, it just looks very, very classic and timeless. So you guys do a great job there. Look, I'm sure it looks good with any system. Quick question before we maybe dive into some of the specific products you guys have, because a lot of folks are asking, I'm sure just because of your expertise, do you guys have any sort of go-to tracks when you're testing out new gear that you have as a reference?
Yeah, I'm a disco fiend. I kind of have a point of view that I've not properly tested a hi-fi until I've heard some Chic on it.
Okay.
It's just because I know what I'm listening for, and I like that it's got all of the music at the right frequency, and it sits within the mix really, really nicely. So I can hear, exactly where it's supposed to be. And if it's not where it's supposed to be, I know that it's not right. I mean, one of the things about that in particular is Bernard Edwards' bass guitar work. I know what he uses on various different tracks, and I can hear what he uses on various different tracks. And if I'm not getting that, then it's not it's not coming up right for me. So we'll always do that. One of the ones that I tend to use for demonstrations with, certainly with edge equipment, is "Walk on the Wild Side" by Lou Reed. It's it's a song that everybody knows, but perhaps you haven't listened to it recently. And when you hear it on good stereo, it's fantastic. And you can hear, you know, everything that's going on. Great sound staging. Two bass, well, one bass guitar, one double bass, working right the way through the track. And it's only when you hear it on good hi-fi can you actually work out what's going on. Otherwise, it sounds glorious, and you'll always get your foot tapping. But hear it on good hi-fi and hear everything separated out and hear where the frequencies sit, and it's absolutely spot on.
That's a great recommendation. How about you, Leon?
Well, Tony, that's funny because that's one of the tracks I used to test the Edge series to start with. And you could hear these little tiny, subtle volume changes in Lou Reed's voice that just drew you so into it. And, I'd only heard that before on, Mark Levinson and Macintosh, and this was, much more reasonably priced. And that was just astounding. My favorite track that I'll always use is on a Crosby and Nash album, and it's called "Lay Me Down," and it's got all these layered harmonies on it. And if the system is done right, the soundstage just goes way outside the speakers and is super deep front to back, and it's just really lush. And I like to use that one. That's one of my favorites.
Nice, awesome. Leon, you recently reviewed the CXA61. What can you sort of tell us? What stood out to you when you reviewed that product? And obviously, folks that want to check that out, be sure to, we'll post the link here. You guys can check that out, see the written review and the full video. But what stood out to you there?
Well, it's just such a good value. It's built like a tank. It's got the massive toroidal transformer in it, and just sounded very musical. Good digital section in it. I do think the 81 sounds better, though. I think the Daxon 81, to my ears, perform right much better. And for the $300, I think you were all digital sources. I'd go with the 81. That's just my personal opinion. But for $1,000, it's just got tons of impact, very involving, good feature set. And the fact you now have Bluetooth on it, that instead of the dongle, it comes with it. That's another added bonus. And Tony, I wanted to ask you this. I don't know whoever thought of this. Who figured out putting the writing for all the inputs upside down on all your units? Because I love that when you're leaning over looking stuff up. Who thought of that?
I wish that I could take the credit for it, but it's predated me, and we've been doing it forever. So the exact person who decided upon that, I couldn't tell you. What I will tell you is that I've been grateful of it on many an occasion. Given that I pretty much exclusively set up Cambridge equipment. Yes, the amount of times that you spend bending over the back of a hi-fi rack, desperately trying to read stuff upside down, and then you realize that it's printed the right way up for you is fantastic.
Yeah, either way, for those of you listening or watching that haven't seen it, it's printed in both directions. So if you're looking at it straight on, you can see it, or if you're turned over upside down, you can clearly see it.
Very, very thoughtful for sure. Mark said he's got a CXNv2. He said it's his new favorite toy. So it looks like Mark's super happy with it. And then someone on here just put a pretty cool track that got my attention. I'll have to come back to it. No, that's all right. I guess, Tony, thinking about the what else would you add between the the differences between the AX61 and 81 as you sort of move up the line?
So it's a really interesting thing. So that was the first product. I've been at Cambridge 3 years, and I've been in consumer electronics a long time. But Cambridge specifically 3 years, and CX Range was the first product that we made where I was allowed to come into the listening process as we developed the product. And Stephen, the engineer and Francesco, the engineers who designed the internals and the electronics that went on inside, and did a lot of the tuning. We were very keen, as Leon quite rightly pointed out, to make a very sort of musical amplifier, something that respects music, but that you're going to have a good time with. And the CXA61, if we're talking about sound, I always describe the CXA61 as being a bit punk rock. And the minute I write punk rock, or the minute I tell somebody it's punk rock, it ceases to be punk rock. Okay, that's, you've got to decide for yourself. But I decided that, and I felt that this amplifier was quite punk rock. It's very exciting. It's not rude. It's really exciting, and it's quite tight actually, but it gets the blood pumping, and that's what music should be about. Music should be about enjoyment. It should be about fun. It should be about listening to your favorite track and going, wow. CXA81 is like the CXA61, but a little bit more refined. It's not as punk rock, but it still gets the blood pumping. It's a really good orchestra versus a really good punk band. And that's the way that I kind of like to think of those two products.
That is interesting. I think I agree with you.
Excellent. You know, if the two people are saying it, then we must be onto something.
That's
but
right.
I just feel it's a little more controlled. It's a little less runaway, but it's you're going to have a great time with it, and you're going to have a great time with either one. But if you're going to pick one, the 81 for me is the one that delivers everything that I want it to deliver. And every time I put it on in the listening room, it's just wow. It's really funny. We did a training session a little while back when we could still have a room full of people to do it, and I put the old CXA 60 up against the 61, and I put the 80 up against the 81. And after listening to the 80 versus the 81, man at the back of the room, he said, CXA 80 said it's good, but that's my dad's amplifier. The CXA 81, he said, that's my amplifier.
Nice.
And I thought that's a wonderful way of describing where that amplifier's gone.
Yeah, I think if your speakers need a little bit more power and more control, the 81 does a better job too.
Very much so.
Success.
Tony Sarah said, "Hey Tony, why do you drive on the wrong side of the road?" I guess we won't go there.
Well, I, as far as I'm concerned, we drive on the right side of the road, but you know,
we drive on the right.
Each to their own.
That's right. Quick question. You may have a strong opinion, may not, but in terms of streaming, Qobuz, Tidal, do you have a preference? And I guess if so, why?
I'm a Tidal user, and it's out of habit rather than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I even like Spotify for convenience. I
Sure.
think that there are times when you just want to get your rock on, and you know, there's a time and a place for it. If I'm in the car or, you know, on the tube, then Spotify is. If I'm listening seriously, then it's Tidal, or if I'm being ultra serious, then I'll download something high res.
Yeah. How about you, Leon?
Well, I use all of them. I'm a big Rune fan, so I have Tidal and Qobuz on there. Yeah. But I think Tony's right. You know, I was trying to compile. I went through and looked up the top 100 albums of 1969 through 76, which were my kind of fun years. You know, when I was a young man, and I couldn't get all the albums on Tidal or Qobuz, but Spotify had just about everything. So, they do have a big selection.
Library.
But, yeah, they're both great, and then I have a big library of RIP stuff that I use too. But it's gotten closer with the better streamers and the music services to the RIP CDs. Yeah.
So this is related to streamers. You know, obviously not everyone's an audio, you know, considered an audiophile. We have a lot of folks who are new to sort of high performance audio, music enthusiasts, and so forth. So Craig asked, "I'm a newbie to network streamers. Can you explain to me what are some of the use cases for the Cambridge network streamer?"
Well, I mean, we can do the whole idea. So our streamers are powered by a system called StreamMagic. StreamMagic has been at the heart of our streamers since we released our first one in 2011. So we've been doing network streaming products for 9 years. It's been through several iterations of it, but StreamMagic is the combination of software and hardware that kind of drives this. And the whole idea behind StreamMagic as a starting point was that it should be able to take digital music, be it from a streaming service, be it from a digital download, be it from you know, an Apple AirPlay or a Google Chrome cast type product, and it should just be able to take anything that you throw at it and churn it out again. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing, where I'm getting it from. it needs to come to you. So if you want to come around my house and play me a new track that you've got on a USB stick, I will plug it into my CXNv2. If I want to play you a track that Spotify recommended me in my Discover Weekly playlist, I can play it through a CXNv2. If I want to blow you away with sound quality, I will play you one of my demonstration tracks from Tidal, or I'll play you one of my demonstration tracks that I downloaded and I've got on a hard drive that sits out the back. I could play you a demonstration track that I've got on a NAS drive that sits on the network. All of this kind of comes together. And if that's not enough, you can then plug a CD transport into the back of it, and the dual DACs on board will decode all of that and send it out in beautifully rendered analog sound. So it's a digital to analog converter. It's a streaming product. It's actually a preamplifier as well.
That's right. You can just hook a power amp up to it if you want to go pure digital, if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a matter of fact, the W power amp with that's a great combo.
Yeah, I mean, it's, if it'll work with just a power amp if you want it to. In terms of the system that it sits within, and if you decided to do both, but all ends in terms of amplifier and streamer with us at Cambridge, it's just a system that sits together very, very nicely. It's designed to look good together. It's designed to sound good together. But yeah, so put simply, streaming for me and the job of a network streamer is to take anything you throw at it and throw it out again in glorious quality. Yeah,
absolutely. There's lots of different use cases, like you said, that you can that you get the benefit from. Several folks have asked sort of varied questions around how future-proof and how upgradable are the streamers.
Yeah, so CXNv2, there was a CXN, the original CXN released in 2015. We went with the V2 to incorporate Chromecast. So Chromecast was a hardware upgrade that we needed to do. So that's why there's a version 2. That was released early 2018. Since then, Tidal has been integrated into our StreamMagic app. So if you want to use Tidal, you sign into your account on our app and then go through that so you can get CD quality streaming. Rune Ready has been added to, so we went to Rune Tested, then we went to Rune Ready, which is just a fantastic service. And I appreciate that there's a dollar cost to it. But once you tried it, it's very difficult to go back.
You're hooked. You're totally
hooked. It's a one-stop shop for all of your kind of rich media needs. Really, it's like having 10 inlay cards from a CD or 10 vinyl covers. It's just vinyl sleeves. It's just a really, really great thing if you're a music fan.
But Tony, I was so happy that unlike some manufacturers who came out with a new model to have Rune, it was just a software upgrade. And yeah, it's there.
We're not in the business. We don't think just because you bought our product, we've got your money and now that's fine. We'll continue to look after you a long, long time after you've bought your product. And any upgrade that we can do to an older product, we'll do it. So products that we couldn't do Chromecast on CXN, but it's got every other update. We've got Qobuz on it. We've got Tidal on it. It's we make those adjustments as we go. And that's really important. With hi-fi equipment, it's not like a mobile phone. It's not like even not like a television. It's something that you want to hold on to for as long as you can, because your system becomes part of what you expect to hear. And if we suddenly have to take away a piece of your system because it doesn't do what you want it to do anymore, well, that's no good. We need to look after you as best we can after you've bought that product. And I'm really proud to work for a company that does that.
Yeah. Another question thanks, Leon. Do you have anything you're going to add? Sorry.
No, I mean, that is one of the joys of Cambridge is, they do have your back, and the upgrade for Rune for people that had 5-year-old units. And think about that. That's pretty incredible.
Nick, just asking a comparison between the CXNv2 and the CXA81. So if you had a CXNv2 and a CXA81, which would you have manage the DAC functionality between the two?
I think that is a question. That's a question for, I think it's a question for Nick's ears. For me, I like the CXN to do the work. CXN's got twin DACs, and they kind of look after a channel each, and they do a very nice job. The CXA81 has got an ESS. Let me get this right. 901. 901. So it's an upgraded DAC, but there's only one of them. So the best thing to do for me, and if it was my system personally, I have the CXNv2 do the digital to analog conversion. Other people in my building, other people in my company have said they'd rather have the amp do it. So which one's better? I think you need to listen to both if you've got the capability to do that. And whatever you decide is the right course of action. This is not, I'm not going to start dictating how you should wire up your system.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of this just comes down to preference, as you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about, someone was asking if they were interested in Cambridge Audio, what would be like a go-to first product to get into. So maybe you could talk a little bit about the AX series and sort of what you get when you start that line.
Yeah, I mean, AX is classic hi-fi. And so what you won't get with that is streaming. So it's very much a CD player, an integrated amplifier, and then you need to put something into it. And yeah, it really does depend on where your passion lies, I guess, and where your budget starts off. I mean, getting into streaming. I mean, I think what I've got behind me, a CXN and a CXA amplifier, is a really, really good place to start. And this is the older model with the black colorway. The new models have all got the kind of lunar grey colorway. But this is a really, really good first step into hi-fi. AX is a kind of classic first step, and as Leon said earlier, it just sounds right. If you play a CD through it, you know what you're going to get. It doesn't add anything. It doesn't take any away. It's a fairly neutral kind of sound, but it delivers on what Cambridge Audio set out to do, which is to give you a great music experience, no matter the size of your wallet.
Yes, but that new AXR85 receiver for $400, I mean, that is a lot of performance for the money.
Yes.
Because it's got the phono stage, it's fairly powerful, it's got an AM/FM tuner. It doesn't have streaming, but that for $400, that little guy sounds good if you're just starting out with like a turntable system and a pair of small speakers. That's a great way to get going.
Yeah. No, it's a very good product. And if you want to add digital, then step up to the 100, and that will give you digital inputs as well.
That's right.
So there's always somewhere to go with it. And I guess if you are starting out, I tend to suffer from, I don't know if you ever get this, when you buy a piece of equipment and you buy something mid-range, and then you get it home and you put it on and you're very pleased with it. And then you start thinking, I could have afforded to go one higher, and I wish I had. And then you sell what you had that was mid-range, and then you buy the other one, and you've lost a couple of $100. And but I always say, take it to where you're comfortable with your budget. Don't necessarily go under, but take it up to a level that you're comfortable at, and you won't suffer the buyer's regret later on, or the politics of envy.
Yeah. For those of you, obviously, we're trying to get to as many questions. We'll get to as many questions as we can. Thanks for sending all these questions in. I'm trying to sprinkle in as many of them as we can. And then we'll also have our team come back. So be sure to come back tomorrow. We'll answer a lot of the questions that we can't get to today. We'll make sure that we answer those both on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you have a question that we won't have the chance to get to, be sure to come back tomorrow, and we'll do our best to knock out as many of these as we can. Again, we appreciate all the questions that are coming in. Several folks have asked any plans for how Cambridge or when Cambridge will handle MQA.
I mean, I wish I could say to you, a definite yes or no. I mean, it's one of those things. We continue to evaluate everything that comes to the market, and currently, if you want to do it, there is a way of doing it, which is to put your PC to the asynchronous USB connection on the back of your CXNv2, your CXA81, your Edge NQ, whatever you own. So there's a way of doing it. In terms of handling it internally, we'll continue to investigate that. And if the time becomes right and enough people shout for it, who knows?
Got it. Maybe shifting a little bit, we'll talk about maybe some of the other products and then shift. I think a lot of folks have questions about the Alva Turntable as well, but shifting to the other end of the spectrum, the top of the line for you guys. Tell us about the Edge series.
Yeah, so Edge was a really interesting concept for us. Edge is our 50th anniversary amplifier, network preamplifier, power amplifier range. And it's a real departure for Cambridge. So the name Edge comes from one of the founders of Cambridge Audio, Professor Gordon Edge, which is a cool name, first and foremost. But so Professor Edge was one of the people who designed our first product, the P40 amplifier. So this product is named in his honor, I guess. And in terms of design, it's built like a tank, but it looks beautiful. It's very nicely put together. It's got a dual concentric control knob on both the integrated amplifier and the preamplifier network player, the A and the NQ. That's the outer part of it is the volume control, and it's just beautifully put together. Feels very, very nice when you turn it. And then the outside is a control ring which does your source selection. So it's a very reassuring click to that as you move it around. It just feels beautiful to use. But in terms of the internal electronics, that was a product that we said to the engineers, make the best version of Great British Sound that you can make. It's not a case of what this is going to cost in the end. This is a case of give us the best that you possibly can do. So not every component that goes into that is the most expensive, but it's the product that sounded the best when we were putting it together. So it's not, sometimes it's not just individual bits, it's the sum of all the parts. It's how a three-piece band can make the most glorious racket in the world. And it's comparable to what an orchestra can put out in terms of the way that it moves you. And it's that sort of principle. It's what sounds the best, and not that we don't make really, really expensive, very, very high end audio, but we're not massively concerned about what it costs. This is a celebration of being, of our 50 goes round the sun. So that's I think it's a fitting tribute to the people that founded this company 50 years ago. It's certainly in terms of sound, it's been ever so good for us. The reviews that we've had for it have been very, very strong, and the appreciation that's been shown for it has been fantastic. And we're really proud of it.
Well, I really like the design of it, Tony, because you're trying to have minimal parts in the signal path with the best possible support circuitry around those parts. I think the power only has like 14 total components in the signal path. It's like, that's right. Crazy.
Well, everything you put in the forward signal path is an opportunity for you to meddle with what the artist intended.
Yeah.
So if you can keep that nice and short, then that's what we do. I mean, each of the amplifiers have got two huge toroids in them. So big toroidal transformers driving, left and right channels, which the attention to detail is that they're shielded, but then they're also flipped, and then we turn them so that the electromagnetic field that does escape from the toroid is kind of cancelled out by each other. Two wrongs don't always make a right, I've heard, except in electronics engineering. So that's the way that we do that. But yeah, there's a huge amount of we've taken capacitors out. Capacitors are microphonic, and we've taken those out and replaced them with a DC coupled topology. So basically, any DC bias that's thrown out by an op amp will be corrected for and thrown back in. So we don't need the capacitor to filter out the DC that comes out of there. It's very clever stuff and way beyond what I ever studied at school. But it sounds fantastic.
It sounds amazing.
The result you're looking for.
As Leon mentioned,
just compared to some of the competition out there that's in a much higher price range, it holds its own really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say it's about value for money, and yes, it's not cheap. It's a very, very considered purchase, but as you quite rightly say, there are products out there that cost a lot more, and we hold our own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Leon mentioned we got several folks from our sales team have the Edge set up and are incredibly happy with it. Lots of folks coming in and asking questions about. Actually, one gentleman said, "Leon, do you still roam the sales floor?" Said you sold him a pair of speakers many moons ago. You were there earlier this week, I believe.
I was. I've been mostly working at home during COVID, but when this is over, I'll be back on the sales floor, definitely roaming it.
Yeah,
and making sure everything sounds good.
So coming to the Alva turntable, we were able to see that, the sneak peek of that at CES 2 years ago, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And, about 6 months later or so, you guys brought that to market, and obviously it was very well received. Tell us about the Alva turntable.
Yeah, so it's a direct drive turntable. It comes with a pre-fitted high output moving coil cartridge. The platter is made from a material called polyoxymethylene, which is the sort of thing you'll find in gun handles, ski bindings, anywhere with high impact, toughened demands. You'll find that particular material. It's got a built-in phono stage, so it's based on the Alva Duo phono stage that we do as a separate, and that's a very, very good bit of electronics. But the big trick up its sleeve is that it's a Bluetooth turntable, but it's not just any old Bluetooth. It's Bluetooth aptX HD, so it's 24-bit, 48 kilohertz wireless transfer to a capable receiver. And I know what you're saying, Tony. Why am I taking a digital signal, an analog signal, turning it digital, then turning it analog again? And I was asked the same question earlier on today, and for me, there's a lot of ceremony about playing a record. There's a lot of, when you take the record out of the sleeve, you place it on the platter, you clean it, you start the drive going, pick up your needle, drop it onto the record. There's a certain degree of ceremony about that, and it's almost a bit of a centerpiece type arrangement. It's not something you want to be doing in a corner while you've got the back to the party. It's something you want to be able to have out there, and from your listening position, you can quite happily pop the needle on the record, not having to worry about wires, send it to your amplifier, and reap the rewards. It makes a wonderful centerpiece for a party, and it makes for not having to get up every 20 minutes. The old saying goes, there's only two things I really, really enjoy about vinyl, and that's the inconvenience and the expense. It's not inconvenient. And it sounds very good. When we launched it at Rocky Mountain, we had it pretty much on Bluetooth all the time. People were walking in, listening to it and saying, when can I hear it? Now can I hear it on Bluetooth? And we said, haha, well, you already were. And yeah, I think in terms of a blind listen, it's pretty difficult to know which one's which.
Yeah, we've got a full review of the Alva. Leon, what would you add to your experience listening to the Alva turntable?
Well, it's super convenient. Yeah, I almost bought one for our house because there was a room I wanted a turntable in, and the place I could put it wasn't where the gear was, but it was like, I decided ultimately not to because we weren't going to use the room that much. But it also fits that application. I had the amp and speakers on the other side of the room. There's no place for a turntable. I could put the turntable on the other side, and boom, I'd be playing music, playing vinyl. It solves a lot of pieces of the puzzle. Personally, for me, I still hardcore would prefer a pure analog turntable, and you can use it that way should you wish.
Yeah, that's right. You can still use it, the traditional way. But there's something just about putting a record on and then listening to the album from start to finish, right? Which makes it a lot of fun. Me and my wife have certainly started doing that instead of skipping from track to track to track from various artists. It's fun to just listen to a full record from start to finish. Leon, Tony, take a look at the thread. We got a lot of good questions coming in. See if there's any that jump out that you want to try to tackle. Again, everyone, we really appreciate all these questions coming in. We'll get to as many of them as we possibly can.
Oh, there's tons of them.
Yeah. I'll come back to a couple here. Any plans to integrate with the streamers, with Amazon Alexa in terms of the smart devices? Is that on the roadmap down the road at all, or?
Probably something I can't talk about.
Okay.
Keep the roadmap stuff. It is always tricky. As I said earlier, we continue to, look at making things happen. We're already integrated with Google, so you can get Google to, the speakers work with as part of a Google Home setup. Something to look at.
Tell us about your speaker lineup. I know you guys are obviously known for more of your electronics and gear. Tell us about the speaker lineup that you guys have.
Yeah, so
they updated the SX, right? I haven't heard the new ones yet.
Yeah, so the new SX is a facelift of the older SX. So we just brought the branding up to date. But really, they're kind of entry level. Again, it kind of feeds into this thing that we don't want to break your bank to let you listen to your music in good quality. They're all CAD designed, so nice rigid cabinets, paper cones. It's still one of the best materials for speaker cones at that price point, and carefully developed crossovers. There's a pair of floor standers, a pair of bookshelves, a pair of smaller ones. Sorry, mine's gone blank. Speaker stand ones, a pair of bookshelf. There's a sub and a center speaker. So if you want a two stereo twin channel system, great. If you want a 5.1 system with a subwoofer, we can do that too. So yeah, there's something there. I mean, really, sort of speakers. We are probably more of a hardware company. Mm-hmm. The speakers behind me are Aeromax 2s that we've now discontinued, but I've got them on loan and I don't want to give them back, so I'm not going to. Yeah, speakers are very much, other people are very, very good at those, and we're happy to partner our amplifiers with what other people can do. What's
the future of Cambridge, if you had to look, a year or two out, that you can talk about? I know you guys are working on a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, look, we continue to develop the stream platform. I think it's an area where we're already very strong, and we will continue to add to that as time goes on. It's interesting to see the kind of convergence of how people are consuming media is changing. Streaming continues to go from strength to strength to strength, and it's difficult to see anything away from that. I think it will be more of that type of product. It will be more digital, but it doesn't mean we can forget the analog stuff as well. So expect more great British sound, expect more neutral sound, but expect technological advances as and when they happen. Yeah.
A couple of folks asked, I think Matt asked, and you see this question on the screen from Samuel, if you had one product from Cambridge, or if you had to pick one, which one would it be?
If I had to pick one, I need something that does everything, don't I?
Yeah.
I'm allowed to have other stuff with it.
I'd say pick two.
Pick two then.
If I can have two, I'm taking an Edge NQ and an Edge W.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt, just beautiful sounding gear. We in the UK, we don't have big houses like you guys over in the USA. I mean, some of us do, but just the lucky ones. The rest of us live in, small little terraces. It's just like Coronation Street or one of those other classic British programs that you'll get on the telebox. And we don't really have the room for huge sound systems. We're more about something smaller. What I have here is perfect for the size of house that I live in. But if money was no object and I lived in a slightly bigger house, Edge NQ, Edge W.
Leon?
Well, I think it would depend on if you had a really good amplifier already. I get the streamer, CXN. If I didn't, I get an 81. That's what I would get.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
just start now.
A lot
But it
of
would
folks,
depend on your system.
yeah, a lot of folks have obviously been asking questions about the 81, and we talked quite a bit about the differences as you move out from the 61 to the 81. But I think it's just something you just obviously just can't beat for sure. Let's see, one or two more questions we have time for here. Let's see, a couple others that folks popping in here. Leon, any questions you see that you want to try to attack? If not, we'll go ahead and announce the winner. So I have a couple here.
Yeah, well, I'd like to ask, do you think you guys will get into home theater again, or stay clear and stay in 2-channel?
Yeah, we're good in 2-channel for now. It's not an easy market to be in, and I think our strength probably lies in 2-channel. So yeah.
Just get a good home theater receiver with preamp outs and add a Azure Power Amp or an Edge Power Amp to it to get the Cambridge sound.
How people control their own thing is down to them. I mean, it's not something that we're particularly looking to do. I mean, we do still do the little Minx speakers.
Yeah.
Which are they're that big and small and mighty.
Yeah.
And they work brilliantly with home theater stuff. But in terms of the amplifier side of it, no, that's not something we're doing at the moment.
So we're actually going to give away up there.
You've stayed focused for over 50 years on mostly great 2-channel audio. It's a real tribute to the team at Cambridge that you've always had this reputation of great sound for the money, and you've kept it up. It's
thank you.
We're happy to be a part of it.
Yeah,
we're happy we're partnered with you.
That's right. And a lot of folks, hey, they love 2-channel, right? So do what you do well. So we're actually going to announce the winner for the Cambridge Minx bookshelf speakers. The winner for that, based on the best question, is actually Samuel Webb that we just put up on the screen. So if you had only one Cambridge piece, which one would that be? So thanks for all the questions, but we will reach out to you, Samuel. You'll be the winner of those new $300 value. So I'm sure you will love those. And we got time maybe for one more. And then if we finish up, we will announce the winner of our CXNv2 giveaway. So again, thanks for everyone for putting together all of these great questions. Before we announce our winner, we want to make sure that we let you guys know what we'll be giving away next month. So Leon talked a little bit about home theater. Next month, we're going to be partnering with SVS, and we're going to be giving away a full 5.1 home theater system. So over a $3,000 value. It's going to be an incredible giveaway. We're excited to partner with SVS on this. For those of you who maybe don't know or haven't heard yet, last week we just launched an amazing home theater tool where you can do a 3D rendering of your home theater based on your room's size, the type of home theater that you're looking at. If you go to audioadvice.com and just click on home theater, it'll take you right there to it. It's been very, very, very well received. And so please check that out. We'd love to get your feedback. And if you're interested in a home theater, be sure to check that out. So we will put the link to the giveaway for next month. Again, partnering with SVS on that 5.1 home theater giveaway. But we want to really say thank you to Tony for joining us, especially late in the evening.
Thank you, Tony, for joining in. Thanks for everyone who joined in from all around the world and listen to this. We appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. Several folks have said, hey, they really appreciate that we do these every month, that you learn a lot. So we couldn't do this without you guys. We really appreciate everyone tuning in, especially sending us all the questions. It makes it a lot of fun for us and for partners like Cambridge that we have developed really strong relationships with over the years. So the moment we've all been waiting for, the winner of our CXNv2, so almost $1,100 value, is Colin Thompson from Colorado. So Colin, congratulations. Thanks for tuning in. We will reach out to you and you will be the winner of the CXNv2. So thanks a lot, everyone. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, keep putting those in. We will make sure that over the next day or so, we go back on Facebook and YouTube and answer as many of those questions that we weren't able to get to over the last almost an hour. But thanks again, everyone. We really appreciate it. We will see you again next time.
Thanks, everybody.